Okay, good day class. So our lesson for today would be 21st century skills. So we can assume that living in the 21st century requires a different type of skill set, which means that the skills that we need in our everyday lives in this current century is different from the skills needed in the previous times. Okay, so this 21st century skills is actually taken into account by DepEd when they are considering the new curriculum. Okay, so what are these 21st century skills exactly? Okay, so according to DepEd in 2019, these skills include information, media, and technology skills, learning and innovation skills, communication skills, and life and career skills. So these are the four 21st century skills considered by the DepEd in the basic education curriculum. Okay? So let us deep dive into these different types of skills. Okay? So these are the framework, or this is the framework of the 21st century skills. So what you can see here is basically a person that is completed by these four 21st century skills, which opens up their projections. So a person with this skill can have a better access to higher education, already have middle level skills development, can go into entrepreneurship or even employment. Since we remember that even if you do not go to college after the basic education curriculum, you can already apply for work because you are required to have an NC before you finally graduate in basic education curriculum. Okay? So next would be another framework for this for 21st century skills. Actually, Battelle is the basis for DepEd's framework for 21st century skills because they started this one along with other institutions. Okay, so institutions na to, they actually collaborated to to list what 21st century skills do students need. Okay, so here we see the life and career, learning and innovation, information, media and technology skills. So what's missing? Well, what's missing is, let's go back, communication. Actually, communication is right here. It's also considered in learning and innovation skills under 4 C's. Okay? So in order to achieve those 21st century skills, okay, the subjects must be considered upon 3 R's and the 21st century theme. So in 3 R's would be usually reading, writing, arithmetic. It's not exactly 3 R's, but still reading, writing, arithmetic. Okay? So as you can see here, the bottom pillars that create or basically that support the 21st century skills would be standards and assessment, curriculum and instruction, professional development, and learning environments. What this framework means is that these 4 bases for education are needed to effectively develop the 21st century skills. So let's see what's next. So let's dive right into information, media, and technology skills. Okay? So this is divided, or basically this is defined as, sorry, let me correct that. Basically, information, media, and technology skills is defined as literal as it means. It is our ability to handle data and the technology regarding it. Okay? So why do we need this? So according to Battelle for Kids, the 21st century citizen is actually exposed to a lot of information and can collaborate carefully with their peers. The problem is there are so many changes in our technology tools, which makes it hard to actually adapt to these changes, which is why we need to have this kind of literacy in order to actually live in the 21st century. Okay, kung maaalala ninyo, 10 years ago, Facebook is not the most popular social media. Google is not the most popular search website. Okay? So these changes in just this past years are actually abrupt if you are looking at it in a time period. It's simply because technology is exponentially getting better. Although some technicians or some learners of technology would argue with that. Okay, so let's not delve into the technological advances. So let's focus on the skills. Okay, so uh, this type of 21st century skill is divided into literacies. The first literacy is your information literacy. Okay? Under the skills on this one would be to access and evaluate information and to use that information. So dito papasok yung ating ability to identify fake news, to perform research, to to corroborate these researches into an actual and accurate summary. So all of those skills is under information literacy. Basically what we do with information and how we assert that this information or their collection is accurate and true. So as teachers, we cannot just show information. We need to verify if they are true and if they can actually benefit. Okay? So next, we have media literacy. So this applies to, when you say media kasi, it's videos, pictures, or basically anything in the internet. Yung mga articles, okay? Yung mga news websites, they are part of the media. Okay? So apart from learning information themselves, we also need to understand media because most information are delivered to us by the media. YouTube. Okay? Marami tayong natututunan sa YouTube. Okay? Sa mga news websites, ABS-CBN, GMA, TV5, Inquirer, Manila Bulletin, and the others, all of them give us an information. The problem would be to interpret those information and to analyze if there is bias in the reporters, if there is bias in the media itself, okay? If what the media is telling us is true, if the media can actually benefit or influence the watcher. Okay? For example na lang, yung Facebook. Okay. Pag nakakita ka ng fake news, minsan may makikita kang relative mo na mag-share ng fake news. Okay? That sharing of that article is considered a part of a media. And sometimes, those fake news can affect the beliefs of others. Ay, ganito pala. Ay, nakita yan sa Facebook. Maniniwala na ako. Which is a problem when it comes to media literacy. Kasi yun nga, this is closely connected with information literacy, but media focuses more on the influence, on the perspectives of learners or the users themselves. Okay? Ang pinaka-example na lang dito is yung paggamit ng porn. Okay? Some of us are exposed in that type of media in an earlier age than the prescribed age. So we have to ask, is it legal? Of course, it's not legal. Is it ethical? Well, it's not ethical. But is it realistic? Well, at some points, yes. Because there are still people who are not exposed to that media. And then, makikita mo yung iba. They would expose others to those types of media. What would you do? Are you going to focus on the ethical? Are you going to focus on the realistic? Are you going to focus on the logical, on the rational, and so on and so forth? This media affects people. Okay? So we need to have literacy on how it can actually affect people and how we can mitigate damage if there will ever be a damage. Okay? So next would be creating media products. So we are not only assessing media, we are also creating media. Me, or I'm actually creating media right now. I'm recording this discussion, which means that I need to check this information. That's why I always have sources in the end of the slide naman. Okay? So, moving on. Apply technology effectively. So, this is actually a struggle when it comes to people because there are others who do not know how to navigate the internet or how to actually use the new types of media. So, for example, there's actually a TikTok trend that shows me the different types of what do you call this? Different types of rare websites that have useful sources. For example, ako ang ginagamit ko eccentric na media would be tracking the stars. I have an application in my cell phone that supposedly tracks the location of the stars as well as man-made satellites. Okay? So, I also have a weather forecast or a weather satellite, what do you call this, application on my phone. Okay? I also have what you call, yung photo math. Yung pipicturean mo lang yung problem na mathematics and they will solve it for you. Okay? Although I haven't used it. Okay? I also have Photoshop, which I never use because I'm not creatively gifted. Okay? So all of this technology affords us different types of skills, which means that we must take advantage of these different types of technology. Okay? Because most of them can be used in teaching, especially the cliche subjects. Okay? So moving on. Learning, innovation, and communication skills. Dito papasok yung 4 C's natin. So, let's see kung makikita na natin agad sa next slide. Okay? So, first, they defined or basically, Battelle for Kids argued that a student or basically a person in the 21st century must express or must possess the 4 C's. Creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. Okay? So let's start with creativity and innovation. So 21st century learners should be able to think creatively. With the number of media available to us, the number of tools, the number of colors, the number of reproductions, the number of designs, all of these things can allow us to express ourselves more creatively. Okay? Unfortunately, not all of us are gifted with this skill. But we express creativity in different ways, of course. That's why, again, we must take into account this particular skill. Okay? So how do we practice thinking creatively? Well, for me, I practice by writing short sentences, short creative sentences. For others, they may paint using software on the internet. For others, they may create a blueprint for a house. Okay, medyo expensive na yon. Nonetheless, it's still a way to practice thinking creatively. For teachers, usually, ang thinking creatively natin would be to try and fiddle with our presentation material. Okay? In-explore natin iba't ibang animation, in-explore natin ibang pictures, kung ano yung mga pwede nating idagdag for our tools. Okay? So, as you can see, I have not had the time to explore such things. Ang nailagay ko lang is yung transition. Okay? So, unfortunately, this is not that good on my side. Okay? So, moving on. Work creatively with others. So, your ideas can actually help the design of the team. Okay? So, your creative powers have a lot of things to do and to contribute to the team because in the 21st century, you are more connected than ever. Sharing your creative ideas does not necessarily mean na ibibigay mo na sa kanila. It just means that you want to help and you want to see how your creative idea can actually harmonize with the goal of the project or of the team. Okay? So what's next? Implement innovations. Now, of course, creativity and innovation goes hand in hand. It is only an idea if it's not executed. Okay? So, your idea must be implemented if it blends well with the project, with the objective, with the pursuit, or with the problem. Okay? So, yun. Your ideas must be implemented. They should not remain as ideas lang. You should implement it, especially if it is hypothesized to be good with your endeavors. Okay? So next, critical thinking and problem solving. Now, in our workplace, there are many problems. There are many things that needs fast, accurate, and correct solutions. Okay? So for example, yung problem natin na the pandemic, it rendered face-to-face learning invalid. So DepEd had to scramble to try and find a way to deliver the lessons. This is one of them. Recorded lesson in a distance learning framework. Okay? This is critical thinking paired with planning, of course. Now, when it comes to the problems in the workplace, there are many to mention. For example, yung mga estudyante mo lang na hindi magsasalita, yung mga estudyante mo na may open lang yung Google Meet and then hindi na makikinig. Okay? So you have to think of solutions for those things. You have to try to increase interactivity. You have to try to increase the avenues on how you deliver the lesson para sa mga walang data, makakonect sila, and so on and so forth. Another problem you may encounter would be student communication. Because meron mga students minsan na magko-communicate out of school hours or makikiusap regarding the deadline of a project. Okay? So those are problems that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. You can choose to be strict or you can choose to be less strict. It depends on you if the deadline you gave or the standards you have given are reasonable. Okay, nakadepende naman po yan on how you reason or bargain with each other. Okay? So there are actually many skills in reasoning effectively. Okay? So reasoning, inductive and deductive. Okay, make judgments, systems thinking, and so on and so forth. Well, basically, ang problem solving kasi it involves a lot of skills. It involves understanding the problem, it involves understanding the system, and by the system, it means the processes, the relationships, okay, the strengths and weaknesses of the system. Okay? Ang class natin, it can be considered as a system, okay? When I say system, I say it in general. A system is basically an environment in this particular context. Okay? So, your problems must be, or the solutions you will give to the problem must be beneficial, must be feasible to the system you are going to apply it to. Okay? For example, ganito lang. Wala kang face-to-face. Okay? Tapos yung mga students mo naman, they don't have access to the internet. Ay, ang solution mo lang, distance learning, which requires internet. And that in itself shows that you do not understand the system. Kasi nga, ang problema sa system or ang inherent characteristic ng system is walang internet connection, and yet the solution you're suggesting is contrary to that characteristic. So that's just a very brief example of understanding the system for you to reason out your solutions. Sorry. Okay, moving on. Solve problems. So ito na. You have to understand if your solution to a problem or even the problem itself, is it worth addressing? Or are there any more pressing matters? Okay? So, after mo identify kung worth solving nga yung problem, you have to identify if there are ways to view it in different viewpoints. Okay? You look at it as at a perspective of a teacher, perspective of a learner, perspective of an administrator. All of these things is under problem solving. Kasi napaka-intertwined ng mga stakeholders. Ang ginagawa ng teacher, nakaka-apekto sa learners. Learners, nakaka-apekto sa parents. Parents, magre-reklamo sa admin, apektuhan yung admin, may papabago na naman sa teachers. Okay? That's just an example of a domino effect. So these problems or the solutions you are suggesting will affect the system, and you have to know its consequences and its effects to the different parts of the system. Of course, papasok din dito on how you creatively solve the problem. Okay? So next, we have communication and collaboration. Actually, pinag-isa na ito. Pinag-isa na ito because you can collaborate without communication. Okay? And you can communicate without collaboration. Okay? Paano ba yung communicating without collaboration? Paano makikipag-usap sa'yo kung ayaw nga makatulong ka, di ba? So, yeah, they are very much connected. So, the first skill under here is to communicate clearly. So, there are reasons on why the delivery of teachers differ. There are many researches on how to deliver a message clearly, concisely, and there are ways to make people retain it. Ang isa sa mga nakita ko, although hindi ko na maalala yung source, if you repeat something over and over, or at least if you repeat something 3 times, chances are maaalala mo yon. Sabi nila. Okay. At this point, hindi ko na maalala ko ilang beses kong inulat yung creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration. Creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration. Okay, I have a better retention of the 4 C's right now, which is useful. Okay, and is it something I want to communicate? Well, particularly, yes, I want you to remember the 4 C's. Creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. Di ba? Feel ko hindi nyo na makakalimutan yan. So, moving on, communication is actually, yun nga, meron na tayong verbal and non-verbal. What I'm doing here is verbal. What you're seeing on the screen or the presentation is non-verbal. Are they clear? Well, I hope so. I'm talking in an impromptu situation kasi. So, you can see how many mistakes, how many stutters, how many so did I say, or I did say. Okay? However, I hope that the message remains clear. Okay? Because this is a skill that needs to be developed by teachers. You have to communicate clearly and with a purpose. Is your purpose to share knowledge? To share your values? To change the attitude of others? Okay? To persuade someone? So all of this must be shown through your communication skills. Claro, my purpose, and direct to the point. Or, ideally, dapat direct to the point. Sa ngayon kasi, parang naglalaro tayo ng Among Us eh. Well, nonetheless, that's a societal problem. Moving on. Okay. Siyempre, pasok din dito yung pag-communicate natin through technology tools. Okay? So, I'm communicating to you right now. Although, by the time you're watching this, I might be sleeping or I might be doing something else. So, I'm communicating to you in somehow a delayed manner using the technology tools in hopes that I can share with you this particular understanding. Okay, next. Okay, exercise flexibility and willingness to help, shared responsibility. Ang sabi nila, the key to a good relationship, any relationship, is good communication. Okay? I remember a friend telling me, although I'm not sure of how reliable that information would be, that in any relationship there should be communication and compromise. Okay? What does mean compromise? Compromise is needed when it is in a relationship because you are not the same person with the one you are working with. That's why there will be differences. And if you are working in a team, these differences will need to be reconciled. Okay? Kaya, reconciliation is somehow, well, it requires compromise. Okay? Moving on. We have life and career skills. Okay, ito na yung medyo problematic eh. Because how do you develop life and career skills for someone who does not like to be social? Okay? Unfortunately, sa panahon natin ngayon, it's actually quite, what do you call this? Easy for some to separate their work life and their personal life. Kaya kahit papano, if they are antisocial or not social in personal, they can somehow still adapt to a collaborative working environment. Okay? So ano ba yung life and career skills? Ano ba yung sinasabi ni Batel dito? Okay. So sinasabi lang basically is that kulang ang knowledge sa ating current real world scenario. Well, what are you going to do with all the knowledge if no one is willing to help you? No one is willing to, what do you call this? Well, make use of that knowledge. Okay. Sa ngayon kasi, there are many ways on how you can live, but most of the time, you cannot live on your own. You can try to produce your own food, but then that would still be just the bare minimum. Remember yung ating hierarchy of needs? Well, food is the lowest of them. Okay. So anyways, in order to thrive in our current scenario, okay, current life, you need to have this skills daw according to Batel. Okay? So there are 4 categories to this life and career skills. You can, bakit 4? I can see 5. Okay? Must be a typo. Okay? Or actually nakahiwalay kasi sa kanilang pinaka-main na topic yung leadership and responsibility. I just added it there because I deemed it necessary to have leadership and responsibility skills when we are talking about life and career skills. Okay? So let's move on. Flexible and adaptability. From the words themselves, you need to be able to adapt to your environment. So if you can see, marami ring teachers na sadly, they didn't endure. Okay, they were not able to push through with the change. Kaya nakakalungkot yung mga ganung balita that they okay, that they chose well, not savory scenarios. Nonetheless, in this current scenario, you'll have to be adaptable to change, to pressure. Okay? One way of doing this, of being flexible and adaptable, would be time management. Okay? Work effectively in a climate of ambiguity and changing priorities. So, pag nagbabago-bago yung priorities kasi, for example, pag wala kang time management, hindi mo alam kung ano unahin. You do not have what you call the priority order, which makes it hard to actually prioritize. Lalo na pag marami ka ng pina-prioritize. Sa teacher, magpa-priority ka gumawa ng module, mag-record ng lesson, mag-grade ng students, mag-prepare ng exam, all of those overlapping. So kapag hindi mo kayang mag-adapt, chances are you will fall behind, which is a problem, especially in our very competitive market. Okay, moving on. Be flexible. Okay, so ganun naman yung sinasabi ko. Ang additional part lang ng pagiging flexible is you have to learn to be sensible to your environment. Okay? Pag may hindi ka gusto, okay, ikaw lang ba yung may hindi gusto? Majority ba ay gusto? Oh, majority gusto nila. Okay. So, I'll try to be flexible. I'll try to talk to them if I can change it. Pag hindi, then I'll be flexible. Okay, may sinabi yung aking coworker na hindi maganda. Hindi raw maganda yung pagtuturo ko. O, what can I take from it? Do I take it as an offense? Do I take it as constructive criticism? Okay? And so on and so forth. Okay? Ganun po yung pagiging flexible. We have to be open to criticism and we have to be, basically we have to try and endure the current environment. Okay? Next would be initiative and self-direction. Now, this is actually a problem. Sabi ko na rin kanina, manage goals and times. So, this is somehow still connected to being adaptable. Okay? So, the problem here, or with the current students, would be their self-direction or their initiative. The goal of education or higher ed is actually independent learning. We should be giving you materials. You should be doing them yourselves, and you will be contacting us if you are experiencing an obstacle that you have tried everything and then you still can't. Ganun yung pinaka-concept of higher learning, because this type of learning is actually, yun nga, it tests your skill. It tests basically your personality when it comes to challenges. Papasok na dito yung iyong time management, on how you manage goals and how you circumvent through these goals. Kaya sinabi ko sa inyo, when you are doing activities, most of them are done in groups. You have to help others. You have to make time for this. Because if you don't, and magpapabuhay ka sa others, chances are they will leave you behind. I mean, if I have a group mate that is deliberately not helping, well, I think that's enough reason, diba, to remove them from the group. Kasi hindi siya marunong mag-manage ng time. Deliberately, sabi ko, diba? Meron din naman kasi mga iba na nagkakaroon ng emergencies. Okay? That's understandable as long as it is within reason. Nonetheless, you have to manage your time, understand which goals can be achieved in a given time, and you have to divide your workload. Magpatulong ka sa iba pag willing silang tumulong. Okay? Pag hindi, you have to have the initiative to do it yourself. Okay? Work independently. So, ito na rin yung sinasabi ko kanina. Working independently means trying it out on your own, exploring on your own, mastering on your own. Sa ngayon, napakarami ng mga courses that you can finish online on your own. Napakaraming skills na pwedeng matutunan on your own. Ang kulang lang ay initiative. Okay? Tinatamad po ako. Manonood na lang po ako ng All of Us Are Dead. What happened to working independently, di ba? This needs initiative. Working independently needs initiative. Pag walang initiative, what can we do? We can try extrinsic motivation. Give ourselves a reward if we finish a task. Diba? That, in a way, you are helping yourself. So, moving on. Social and cross-cultural skills. Actually, nakapasok na to sa flexible. Okay? As teachers kasi, we will be exposed to different types of learners, different types of gender, okay? Different types of religion, different types of political views. So, we have to ask ourselves, how can we say something or how can we discuss a very polarizing topic to others? Sa ibang subjects kasi, sa math, for example, it is factual. Sa science, it is factual. But when you go to other subject areas that are subjective in nature, then it becomes ambiguous. It becomes a question on how you will deliver this factually, okay? And how you are going to interact with your students. Okay? So, for others kasi minsan, yung mga teachers nyo, nawawala yung boundary on being teacher. On being teachers. Minsan nagiging balasubas na sila. Ako, for example, minsan nagiging balasubas din ako sa iba. However, as much as we try, okay, we must try harder. Okay? So, a teacher kasi, you have to be honorable. Okay? You have to be ethical. You have to be, well, you have to be fair. Okay? So, all of these things, you will have to master. Or you will try to master. Personally, I'm still trying to master this skill. Okay? Work effectively in diverse teams. So when you're a teacher, for example, ako on my first year of teaching, I was tasked to dance. Okay? I was tasked to work with people I do not know. Okay? And I have to work with them effectively to make an event happen. Which I did. I'm not sure if I did it well, but I did it nonetheless. Okay? So, ang sinasabi lang dito, you have to be open-minded, okay, to ideas, to different cultures, to different opinions. Okay? And of course, papasok na ulit yung collaboration. So, as you can see, life and career skills are connected with learning and innovation. Yung mga 4 C's doon, di ba? Okay? Although, yung collaboration, feel ko mas papasok siya dito sa life and learning. Okay? Pag sinabi mo kasing 21st century skills, sometimes they overlap. Okay? Because they are essential elements to surviving. And working effectively in diverse teams is essential because most of the time you will not be working alone. Ang framework ng teaching ngayon, you're not the dispenser of knowledge. You're a collaborator. You are going to work with your students, not explicitly teach them. That's why iniiwasan na namin yung spoon feeding. Iniiwasan namin yung sobra-sobrang discussion. Okay? Because there are a lot of things you also need to discover on your own. What's the point of teaching these things if in the end you will not have the initiative to search? Then, okay. If you will not have the initiative to work with your other teams, what's the point of teaching kung hindi rin kami makikipagtulungan sa inyo? Well, there is a point, but it is sometimes less, okay, or sometimes less significant. Okay? Moving on, productivity and accountability. Okay? So when you say productivity, basically this is what you do with your time and if you are accountable with your requirements. Okay? If I give you a requirement, you are accountable to do it within that time, especially if it is reasonable. Kaya I'm always asking you, if okay na ba yung groupings? Okay lang ba yung number na yan? Kakayanin kaya sa time period? Because if you say yes, then you are accountable to meet those deadlines and to meet those standards. Okay? So you have to be productive in a way that you can work effectively. Okay? Minsan kasi sa sobrang pagiging productive natin, na-exhaust na natin yung sarili natin. Okay? Next. Leadership and responsibility. Okay? Guide and lead others. As a teacher, it's your role to guide your learners. Okay? Sometimes our learners need initiative, but they also need a path. The teachers will have to open that path. They will have to lead. Okay? Ang gawain ng students, they try to carve small paths on their own, but eventually they'll have to go back. You'll have to get them back to the main path. That's the role of the teachers nowadays. Because it's your responsibility kapag hindi sila natuto. Kapag iba yung natutunan nila. If they end up being worse than when they started, that is your problem. That is a sin that some teachers make. Sometimes I make as well. I have no idea. Okay? That's why I'm always asking. That's why we are evaluating ourselves. That's why you are evaluating us. Okay? Have we performed our responsibility well? Yun yung purpose ng evaluation. Okay? That's why at times, yun nga, you'll have to lead, but you have to be a leader and not a boss. Hindi mo pwedeng punta kayo dito, punta kayo dyan. Do you want to go this way? Do you want to try some other way? That is what it means to be a leader or a teacher in this case. Okay? Be responsible to others. So, nasabi ko na ere. Okay? What your words, ang isang evaluation sa akin nun is when someone is reciting at tumatawa raw ako or nakangiti or somehow tumatawa raw ako, which is yes, it is a problem in my case. Okay? Because I'm responsible for my actions and I'm responsible for the damage I did. Okay? So that's why your actions as teachers must be thought of very carefully. Okay? Because all of the things you do, it's your responsibility. Especially if you are holding a class. Okay?